Pam Bondi walked into that hearing expecting routine questions, but Adam Schiff had other plans. In seconds, he put her on the spot with simple truths she refused to say out loud, exposing just how dangerous Trump's new immunity ruling really is. This wasn't a hearing, it was a meltdown, and Schiff made sure America saw it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held that the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility. One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision, Justice Roberts and the majority held the president could commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon. So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no to the president when it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no. And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without, you're a long practicing attorney, without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. You know,
and sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans have lost faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question.
Brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
Sensitive information. So just tell us, are you aware? Just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is
Are you aware
horrible.
of a?
Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not.
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate
but the president
Liz.
Has
We're
called,
also worried about Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
President has
you know
called
what we should be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
The crime rate in California right now is through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president? And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell us, can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it. I won't play politics with any ongoing investigation,
so let me ask you another,
like you did leaking your colleague Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election, yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question, if you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election, yes or no? Was there or was there not? I can tell
you what I saw when I went as an advocate to the campaign.
That's not my question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president. We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a case. Let me finish. On a case-by-case basis.
Okay, good.
And I abhor violence to police officers.
Follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President? I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
and
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons,
will you be able to review hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am asked to look at.
Of course you won't. So will you advise the president?
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question
I
is,
would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review
Listen,
hundreds
I'm
of
not going to
cases on the first day?
mislead this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
You
another question.
were censured by Congress, Senator, for comments just like this that are so reckless.
It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're frightened now? I can't believe this is even...
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe you're asking such a question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, I know that you are pleased that we are moving to the end of round one, and we appreciate your being here.
What we just witnessed was a moment that perfectly captures why this confirmation hearing matters far beyond the personalities involved. Adam Schiff wasn't asking Pam Bondi twit questions, and he wasn't looking for headlines. He was trying to expose something far more dangerous. What happens when a president is handed a level of immunity so broad that even the Supreme Court's conservative majority admitted it functions like a loaded weapon. And Schiff's point wasn't theoretical, because Donald Trump has already made it clear how he intends to use that weapon. All Schiff asked for were basic truths, the kind of truths any independent attorney general should be able to say without blinking. Is there any factual basis to investigate Jack Smith? Is there any evidence to investigate Liz Cheney? Was there massive fraud in the 2020 election? Can you commit to not destroying January 6 evidence? These aren't complicated questions. They are the kinds of simple, obvious yes or no answers Americans should hear from someone who wants to lead the Department of Justice. But Pam Bondi did everything except answer them. She dodged, deflected, and changed the subject, not because she didn't understand the questions, but because answering truthfully would mean contradicting Donald Trump. And that is exactly the danger Schiff was exposing. If the next attorney general can't stand up to Trump in a Senate hearing, how could they ever stand up to him inside the Oval Office? Schiff's questions were more than a test. They were a warning. When Bondi refused to say that Trump lost the 2020 election, refused to acknowledge the lack of fraud, refused to rule out political revenge investigations, and refused to commit to preserving evidence from January 6th, she was showing the country how quickly the rule of law can bend when loyalty to a man outweighs loyalty to the Constitution. This is why Democrats are fighting so hard in these hearings, because the stakes are not theoretical. Trump has already publicly promised mass pardons, revenge prosecutions, and weaponizing the Justice Department against his political enemies. He says the quiet part out loud, and tonight Schiff showed that at least one of his potential top law enforcement officials won't say no to any of it. Moments like this matter because they pull back the curtain. They remind Americans what happens when democratic institutions collide with people who would rather protect power than protect the truth. And if this hearing made anything clear, it's that the real threat isn't just Trump. It's the people willing to carry out his orders. And that's exactly why Democrats must continue exposing, questioning, and holding the line. Because if they don't, no one will. If you want more breakdowns that cut through the chaos and highlight the fight for truth and accountability, subscribe to The Blue Report, where we follow the facts, defend democracy, and never shy away from what's at stake.